Hey guys, this is just a quick little intro for you. Basically, I was watching the RFK Jr. testimony that he gave to the Senate on the Department of Health and stuff, and I just made that into a video for your perusing pleasure. That's it. That's all. Enjoy. Hit that like button for me if you do. And thank you for 100 subscribers, everybody. Oh, and before I forget, just to be 100% clear, if you hear weird breathing in this video, it's not me. It's RFK Jr. breathing into his microphone, okay? So before someone gets in the comments and is like, you're breathing throughout the video, it ain't me, brother. It ain't me. I wish I could shut him up too. This man was breathing in my ear the whole damn time. I was watching this, I decided I was gonna go live, so.
Made. Just as it wasn't true when you wrote that, quote, African AIDS is entirely different from Western AIDS.
African AIDS is entirely different from Western AIDS? What? RFK Jr. is insane.
All these vaccines that we're talking about today are free and accessible to parents today in America who have the freedom to be able to make that choice for their children. Will that be true after your handpicked panel makes their judgments about these vaccines?
I think that parents should be free to,
I know you said that before. I do too.
To make their own choices.
So will they be just as free after these?
I assume they will be.
I will hold you to that, Secretary Kennedy.
How are you going to hold him to that? What are you going to do? You're not going to be able to fire him. How are you going to hold him to it? Stop taking his word for shit. He can say whatever the fuck he wants here and lie all he wants.
What you said were lies. You
Are you saying, Senator,
moving the Titanic?
Senator, are you saying that a mRNA vaccine has never been associated with myocarditis or pericarditis in teenagers?
I am simply.
Is that what you're trying to tell us?
I am simply trying to say that the people that you have put on that panel, after firing the entire.
You're evading the question.
No, I'm asking the questions here,
You're
Mr.
evading
Kennedy.
that question.
I'm asking the questions,
I
Mr.
asked
Kennedy.
you a question.
I'm asking the questions for Mr. Kennedy on behalf of parents and schools and teachers all over the United States of America who deserve so much better than your leadership. That's what this conversation is about, Mr. Chairman.
Senator, they deserve the truth, and that's what we're going to give them for the first time in the history of that agency.
Senator Cassidy.
Thank you. I'll try and restore a little calm here.
No calm. This is not a time to be calm. Also, does that say the Honorable Robert F. Kennedy? Honorable where, bitch? Bitch where? Bitch who?
Email from a physician friend of mine. Hey, Bill, I'm not even sure what I'm asking you, but we're all confused and concerned about who can get the COVID vaccine. We are having our attorney try and render an opinion, but there's no firm guidance and concern about liability if vaccines are given to a patient who requests it, but not on the current CDC list. Pharmacists are requiring a prescription now even for patients over 65, creating a huge headache. I submit these for the record.
Without objection.
I would say effectively we're denying people vaccine.
Senator Cantwell.
You're wrong.
You're wrong. Like, what, obviously I understand that he can't give, like, a full rebuttal or whatever. He can't give his full comeback at them, but, like, if they're wrong,
science, and that's what
like, what do you mean they're wrong? Like, what part is wrong? Like, are you saying that those people that he just named off or don't exist? Like, he made them up? Is that what you're saying? Because that seems a little crazy, RFK.
I have two other quick questions for you.
These questions or statements? Because I can answer that question if it's actually a question.
Do you believe in having the ACA and the support for the ACA?
He's so obnoxious. I can answer that question if it's actually a question. Like, bitch. Are you dense? Are you stupid? Is the worm still in your head? Is the worm still in his head? I know people joke about that, but is it? Did he leave it?
Would you accept the fact that 1 million Americans died from COVID?
I don't know how many died.
You're the Secretary of Health and Human Services. You don't have any idea how many Americans died from COVID?
I don't think anybody knows that because there was so much data chaos coming out of the CDC, and there were so many perverse incentives, and these are model
You don't know the answer of how many Americans died from COVID. This is the Secretary of Health and Human Services. Do you think the vaccine did anything to prevent additional deaths.
Again, I would like to see the data and talk about the data.
You have had this job for 8 months, and you don't know the data about whether the vaccine saved lives?
Like, he's had time to look at the data.
Because they are
This
going to
chat,
use
bro.
healthcare
This
across the
fucking
board.
chat. Do you see this shit? Look at this. 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 Damien H is a Nazi. Damien H is a Nazi. Hospitals are everywhere. What are you talking about, Willis? Super ignorant. A rural hospital is in trouble because a big university is buying up local medical facilities, not because of RFK. RFK needs to have the hospitals audited that did not document deaths properly and claimed Coburn death when the people died from other causes like heart attack or car crash. Who the fuck died from a car crash and they said it was COVID? What are you talking about? What are you talking about, Jack? Everyone in that room needs to retire to the ground. This person has been going at Damien H all this fucking time. Damien H, the last thing he said, so please run along, woman, and remember you left-wing utopia will never be our country. You will have free healthcare and you will like it. Someday. Someday. Amazing that there's anyone in the chat actually defending the useless, compromised leeches in Congress. Politicians, sheesh. They know RFK Jr. is a politician, technically, yes. Trump was able to do this thing where he got a bunch of non-politicians, and so now everyone is like, fuck the politicians, and they don't think that they're including, like, Trump and his team anymore, even though they are, by definition, politicians now, and they act like politicians.
And we know that during the Biden administration, they actually twisted the data to bury one of the safety signals with a very high safety signal, around 11%.
I'm gonna be honest with you. When he makes statements like that, I feel like he should have to prove them. When he says the Biden administration was faking the numbers, I feel like he should have to prove it. He should have to, like, produce evidence for that. He shouldn't get to just be like, they were lying. Why should I trust you?
For the COVID vaccine, I was removed by FDA because they were the industry.
No, it was behind closed doors.
No, it's not public.
And scientists who said they wanted to brief you on the science, scientists who wanted to understand why the FDA, why you unilaterally changed the parameters for giving vaccines, making it possible now, to Senator Cassidy's colleagues' points, that they're going to have to go off-label
This is crazy talk. You're just making stuff up.
to prescribe a vaccine for children. I'm not making things up. Do you know how the FDA approval process works and what happens when it's,
I know exactly.
what an off-label? Do you know what an off-label prescription is?
I know exactly how it works. I know exactly how it works.
So why behind closed doors?
It's not behind closed doors. The industry makes the studies, and they could not provide a study that said that it is effective for healthy kids.
So when have you produced the data that you relied on and that this FDA relied on to change those parameters? You did it behind closed doors.
No, the data is all public.
Oh, now the COVID data is all public. Before, there was no reliable COVID data out there. Now it's all public. Interesting.
I want to begin my time by talking about the issue of federal deregulation of chemical abortion drugs. Just last year, 2 women died as a result of taking chemical abortion pills because they were able to access them without appropriate medical oversight. And by the way, that's all allowed by the FDA.
Okay, but how many women would
Mr.
die
Secretary,
without access
and
to
FDA
these
McCary
medications? If the point is
this
harm
during the
reduction, what is the
confirmation
alternative
hearing.
here? Is
Is-
the
could
alternative
you provide
better or
any
worse?
update to
Just
to
asking
replicates?
questions. I mostly don't want to hear them talk about this, so
Just, I want to give you, I'm sorry, just the last minute to, first of all, defend yourself, but talk about the corruption of science that you're having to deal with and trying to correct.
I'll just tell you one example, and I could sit here and give you thousands. But in 2002, CDC did an internal study of Atlanta and Fulton County, Georgia children, and looked at children who got the MMR vaccine on time and compared those to kids who got them later. So in other words, kids who got them before 36 months and kids who got them afterward. The data from that study showed that black boys who got the vaccine on time had a 260% greater chance of getting an autism diagnosis than children who waited. The chief scientist on that, Dr. William Thompson, the senior said,
That doesn't. No, 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 no. What exactly did he say? Because you know what? I fired off at the hip. What exactly did he say?
kids who got them later. So in other words, kids who got them before 36 months and kids who got them afterward.
He just says kids. He specifically singles out black boys, and then he just says kids.
CDC did an internal study of Atlanta and Fulton County, Georgia children, and looked at children who got the MMR vaccine on time and compared those to kids who got them later. So in other words, kids who got them before 36 months and kids who got them afterward. The data from that study showed that black boys who got the vaccine on time had a 260% greater chance of getting an autism diagnosis than children who waited. The chief scientist on that, Dr. William Thompson, the senior vaccine safety science at CDC, was ordered to come into a room with 4 other co-authors by his boss, Frank DeStefano, who's the head of the immunization safety branch, and ordered to destroy that data. And then they published it without that fact. So you know that story, I know that story, and you know of hundreds of stories like that.
Can we find this story? 2002 CDC vaccine Georgia autism. Uh-oh, editing me, jumping in here. Basically, I had recorded this part on stream. Follow me on Twitch so you don't miss the stream, link down below. But there was music playing and it's just way too loud. So I am going to go through this part again real quick. Okay, so this guy asks RFK Jr. for examples of how bad the CDC is. RFK Jr. responds with a story about a study the CDC did in the early 2000s. He says 2002, everything I have found online says 2004, so right off the bat he may have the year wrong, but that's a small thing, I guess. When RFK Jr. made this claim, I immediately wanted to know more about it. Pretty much, I had a hunch he was possibly lying, but I wanted to know how much of it was a lie. So I took to the marvel of modern technology that is Google, and quickly I was able to find the story RFK Jr. was referring to. RFK Jr.'s series of events is as follows. The CDC did a study in 2002. The study found that there was no link between vaccines and autism. Fast forward a decade, a doctor who worked on the study, Dr. William Thompson, comes out and says that they were told to omit data that would have shown that vaccines do cause autism, specifically in black boys. This is, at best, a misrepresentation of events. RFK Jr. leaves out a lot of details. For example, how exactly the information actually came to light. Thompson did not actually release this information himself. He was secretly recorded, and then those recordings were released by Brian Hooker and, wait for it, Andrew Wakefield. Now, if you don't know who Andrew Wakefield is, basically he is the guy. He's the OG vaccines cause autism guy. Brian Hooker is another anti-vax activist. Thompson would say in a statement through his lawyer that he did not know he was being recorded and he had no say in the information coming out. Also, and this is something that RFK Jr., of course, does not mention. In that same statement, Thompson says he thinks people should still get vaccinated and that the benefits outweigh any negatives. Hooker would then take this data and reanalyze it and come to the conclusion that there is, in fact, a link between vaccinations and autism. This would then be published in a medical journal, Translational Neurodegeneration. This journal would later retract Hooker's article because, quote, there were undeclared competing interests on the part of the author, which compromised the peer review process. Furthermore, post-publication peer review raised concerns about the validity of the methods and statistical analysis. Okay, so that is weird and unethical, but what about the claim itself? Well, what I ended up finding was honestly pretty interesting. This study was done on children in the Atlanta area. These children were of many different races and ethnicities. There was data omitted from the final report, but when you understand what that data was, it makes a lot more sense as to why they were asked to remove it. The data they removed showed that black boys between a certain age had a higher rate of autism diagnosis and a higher rate of vaccinations. However, the reason for this is not that vaccinations cause autism. The reason was the children were diagnosed with autism and then required to get their vaccinations in order to access certain services intended for those with an autism diagnosis. Basically, in order to access certain educational programs, for example, that would assist these children, they had to be vaccinated. That is why the data was not included. Thompson says this was key information, but as far as I understand it, this data only seems like something that would skew the results or be misrepresented by the likes of Andrew Wakefield or RFK Jr., just like it is now. Had they included the data, we would be in a similar place, having a similar conversation. They would have still claimed a link between vaccines and autism and pointed to this as their evidence, despite the fact that the data does not actually show this. Finally, I'd like to address the racial aspect of this argument. According to Brian Hooker, black boys were more likely to be diagnosed with autism if they were vaccinated. In order to come to this conclusion, you have to ignore any data from other races and ethnicities that suggests there is no link. And you have to assume that there is something inherently different about black boys, something that makes vaccinations affect them differently. Obviously, Brian Hooker has an agenda here. He wants to push the idea that vaccines cause autism. But would it not make more sense to consider other factors at play? Again, this theory hinges on there being something inherently different about black boys specifically. It requires a certain kind of thinking to come to that conclusion, especially when there is no evidence to support said conclusion. A lot of this is Brian Hooker's ulterior motives, but I do believe that a lot of this also simply hinges on racism. There is no proof to support the claim that vaccines cause autism in black boys or any child. That pretty much is it. Yeah. Data was omitted, but not for any nefarious purpose, but this highlights a whole problem with the current state of things. RFK Jr. gets to just lie or misrepresent certain events, and we can take the time to debunk it, but it took me 20-30 minutes to find and digest all this information. In that time, someone like RFK Jr. can go on to tell 10, 20, 30 more lies. For some reason, people trust the word of politicians like Trump and his administration. They can lie all day, and it doesn't matter if you call them out because they will have already moved on to their next lie. No idea where we go from here, but it certainly won't be fun. I'm gonna start to wrap the video up here. I'll end it with some fun stuff from the chat for you, but basically that's all I had. I got really distracted by trying to figure out if RFK Jr. was lying or not, and that basically became the stream, which isn't surprising to me. That sounds like something I would do. If that sounds like fun to you, come hang out on stream next time. Other than that, I appreciate you guys. I finally hit 100 subscribers. I am honestly a little bit in awe. I make these videos and I think no one's gonna watch them, no one's gonna enjoy them. I appreciate it. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. Now, give the video a like for me if you enjoyed it. Help me out in the algorithm so more people can see my videos, maybe? I don't know. That could be cool too. And let me know down below what you think about all of this, what you think about RFK Jr., I guess. What you think about the worm in his brain. I don't know. If you're not subscribed, hit that subscribe button. I guess I should set a new goal. I don't know. We can do a new goal of 125 by my birthday since my birthday still hasn't happened yet. We'll keep that same deadline, but the new goal is 125. I don't expect to hit that at all, but that's the new goal. And that's really all I have for you. So thank you so much for watching. Take care of yourself. Free Palestine. And goodbye. That's it. Is Garrett still in the Garrett's still in the chat? Free Epstein from the afterlife. Oh, Garrett. Oh, Garrett. Support Israel. Israel is the only bastion of democracy in the Middle East and protects gay rights and women's rights in the Middle East. They are our ally. Ah! This is the most normal chat. Yep. Yep. Yep.